Hey guys, it's Honey. I just want to get on here really quick and take a few minutes to just go over my general timeline so far with my digital art residency with Engaging Collections. For those of you who aren't familiar with what Engaging Collections mission is to basically, in simpler words, is to like basically take some of the, stuffiness and also to just like let's see here, just basically the stuffiness out of archives and libraries and digital collections. Because, I think that sometimes people have a certain image when they think of those words all put together. I know I did. When I heard the word archive, I was like, am I going to be, you know, for a second there, I'm not going to lie with you guys. I heard the word archive, which this is also part of it. And I was like, I don't even know where to begin. I was like literally scared. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this art residency because I want a challenge, but also to will I be able to, provide what is being asked of me? Turns out I'm working through it. I'm getting there. So when I first started out, my initial interest based off of some links that Lydia sent me. Lydia is the director of Engaging Collections. I dug into family records. I was expecting to find some kind of direct correlation to my own personal family's heritage. I soon found out that was not gonna happen. And although I kind of knew that wouldn't happen, and just because, I don't know, I'm a young Black woman in America, a lot of my family's history has not been written down the same way that other families' history has been. And so I knew that going into it, that was going to be pretty unlikely for me to find my direct family's history in these digital archives. So, of course, I was a little bit frustrated. I was a little bit disappointed. It's a little bit frustrating. I mean, it is frustrating when you are wanting to see yourself, because how else do you make art? You make art that's personal to you. So it's like, if I don't see myself, how am I supposed to create? Of course that's possible, but for me that's really what I run with, is having a personal connection. And so, I had a few conversations so far with Lydia on Instagram Live, and basically we talked about a varying amount of topics, but the main undertone of all of the topics that we discussed was accessibility. And accessibility not just in the fact of like being able to find yourself, but knowing how to find yourself, right? So it's like, even if I did have my family's history digitized and archived in the North Carolina digital collections, if I don't know the jargon or how to search or whatever it is on these like databases that are built for people who know what they're looking at, then how am I supposed to get to those, right? And so my first thought was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I tried to dig into family records, that didn't really work. Now I'm gonna figure out how I can create this artistic version of like getting these archives to people so they know that they're there, and so that they know that they can find ways to like have their history put in those archives as well, because that's the whole goal, is to diversify the things that we're seeing in our world today. And so yeah, I was like thinking about that for like a week. I'm like, what is gonna be this? I'm not a graphic designer, I'm not a website developer. I'm like, and I'm supposed to be doing this all digitally because, we're all stuck inside because of COVID-19. And so I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to make a physical piece of art or space as of right now for the foreseeable future. So how am I going to go about this? So my brain got stuck on that at first. And instead of just focusing on the outcome, which I had to kind of like retrain my brain a little bit, I was like, just started really focusing on the process. And I know that sounds like, yeah, of course, you got to focus on the process. But like oftentimes you think about it, you think about the end, even if you don't know the whole end big picture, you have a goal, right? So your goal is to make art. So I'm thinking, I'm just looking for things that I can make art of instead of researching and just finding things that I'm interested in. So I had to retrain my brain a little bit. And then I was, Lydia and I have been sending each other back like Instagram posts about these digital like collections of photos and captions. Obviously it's Instagram's format of, Black lesbian archives, Black history, quinceanera archives. Like there was all these Instagram profiles that were basically doing what I was Like, why isn't this new version of archives, right? It's like, why is it still in this database, like Dewey Decimal System? Like, why is it still like, this, not that it's not working, and I'm sure that now that I'm learning, there's a certain way that you have to archive things for them to be archived. Who would have thought? So I'm like, well, holy shit, the thing that I was like trying to create is right in front of me. Like this new version for kids like me who are 25. I'm an internet kid. Like, I'm not going to always go on my way to type into a digital collection, but I will follow an Instagram page with like interesting photos of like these different, diverse groups, marginalized groups, photos that I've never seen, and photos that you need to see to kind of balance out the negative images that I've been seeing my whole life. It's like black artists in the 70s. Like, that's the shit I need to see as a young 25-year-old artist. And so I was like, okay, well, that problem solved. That's one way, and that's like interesting to me. So I'm going to dive into that. And so I started looking into, and I will tag, I've mentioned it, I literally talked about it in my last journal entry, but I came across this page called Black Archives. And I came across this video about the Black Man's Art Gallery. And I was like, this is fucking cool. It was about this black art gallery in San Francisco in the 70s or 60s. I might be one of the two. One of those two. And it was called the Black Man's Art Gallery. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I never knew that it existed, and this is incredible. And so that inspired me, and I was like, well, the gallery owner, he speaks on, having black artists having the ability to choose their own destiny. And I think I've run into that so often personally, where I feel like I get invited to be a part of things, even if people have good intent. It just feels very like, I want to create my own destiny. I want to make sure that I'm not falling into boxes of what people think a black artist should look like, right? And so I was like, well, I couldn't find anything about myself personally, but there are so much information about black people in Asheville. And I was like, well, what if I just create the space to host this art that I think any person who lives in my town needs to know about, because these are the people that came before you, and they're still here, and they still deserve every opportunity to have their story shared. So that started to get me thinking. And then I was talking to Lydia, and Lydia basically got us in contact with Catherine, and she works with the Buncombe County Libraries. And let me tell you guys, that's like the first step. Like, when you are starting off this residency of any sort that's similar to this, or your own journey digging into archives, reach out to a librarian, sweetheart. They will help you. They will help you. They know how to do this. Those digital collections where I was like, I don't even know how to search. You got to put like a Q after this and a question mark. Like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know the jargon. Reach out to a librarian. They will help you out. So call up your local library and be like, hey, I'm interested in finding more about these archives. Can you help me? And I guarantee they'll be glad to help you. So that's step number one. Should have said that at the beginning. But anyways, finally got in touch. Shout out to Lydia, because she's been a great tool in teaching me how to ask the right questions, how to put myself in the right position to, not feel too intimidated and overwhelmed by this process. Shout out to you. So we're talking to Catherine, and I mean, it was just like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm still learning. I think that Lydia will have more information about how to actually, really search on the digital collections and so on and so forth. So look out for that. But like, just being able to sit and hear someone talk about it and how to approach it, and just information that I didn't know existed, it's like mind blowing, y'all. Like, it's so interesting. The world is not usually what you just see it as. So, excuse me. That's pretty much the gist of my timeline so far, and kind of the ups and downs that I've been going through. Of course, there's a lot more details. And like I said, I talk about some of those more emotional feelings that I felt in my first and second journal entry on engaging collections. So feel free to check those out. And I'll continue to talk about the process as I go along. I hope this all made sense. I know I'm a little bit scattered. That's kind of how I felt, just kind of like up and down all over the place, different feelings, different emotions. But the point is that I feel a lot more confident and comfortable being able to dig into things. And now I'm at a point where I'm just interested. It's not because I have an end goal of making an art piece. Although I do have some things in mind, I'm just allowing myself to just like sink into the process. And that's what this is really all about. And I'm finding more inspiration for things that I want to create now and down the road. And I think I'll encourage my friends too, when you're in a creative block, it's like dig into some history, dig into the things that make you who you are, because you never know what you find that will inspire you to, switch it on.